O'Hara in the studio once again on this Wednesday, here to answer your legal questions. If you have one, get on the line now. 436-1212 is the number to call. Good morning, Charlie. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
How was it out there? I know it was cool when I came to work.
It's pretty nice, really. No wind. Seems nice. No wind in Kansas is kind of unbelievable.
Exclamation point behind that. Well, Charlie is here to talk to us today, too, about kind of a big change that we've seen in the last few months with a new district attorney in our area. So tell me, what does that mean for attorneys in our area? What does that mean for our city?
Well, actually, what they can do, the laws don't change when you change DAs, but there are policy changes, how they do things, what they want to emphasize and what they don't want to emphasize. And so it may change, for instance, how they handle traffic tickets. It may change whether they hurry cases through or take their time with them. It may just change a lot of things. And I think there's a real emphasis right now in the courts to try to get some of the cases through, because there's so many cases. If anybody's ever been to the courthouse like on a Monday morning or Tuesday morning, it's just a mess. There's so many people there, so they're trying to move these cases through, especially some people charged with crimes are in jail for a long time before they can get their case heard. So it's a policy change, and sometimes the people in authority, in power, as far as the structure might change. I don't think there's been much change in personnel or anything like that. And
how does that work, too, on even a national level? I know that we were talking during the break, just sometimes even when you have a turnover for president, it can make a big change.
Well, that is a big change, because what happens, and I don't think most people realize, but the United States Attorney for each district is actually a political position. So when the president changes, the United States Attorney usually changes. So for instance, when President Bush was did not run, and President Obama won, we had a different district attorney. And then the president makes policy changes, and those district attorneys follow those. For instance, the federal court doesn't have to take every crime, so they have emphasis at times. Sometimes maybe on immigration, sometimes on guns, sometimes on gangs, sometimes on something else. It just depends on the president.
Okay, and I know that you mentioned that they're trying to push these people through, especially those that have criminal charges against them, so they don't sit in jail for a long time. How long is too long? Obviously, we do have a law that they're entitled to a quick and speedy trial, so how does that work?
Well, in Kansas, we have a definition, but there's all kinds of exceptions. For any attorney, there's exceptions to everything. If you're in custody, it's 90 days after you enter a plea, not 90 days after you're arrested, but 90 days after you enter a plea, and sometimes that's a month away. If you're not in custody, it's 180 days after you enter that plea. But anytime somebody asks for a continuance or files a motion or does certain things, there's exceptions. In federal court, it says 70 days, but there's all kinds of exceptions to that too. So it's really hard to tell. You'd have to have an attorney go through it to tell you whether it was a speedy trial or not.
Okay, good deal. Thanks, Charlie. We do have a question on the line. We'll go ahead and get to that this morning. Hi there. What's your question for Charlie?
Yes. How do I get my property out of evidence after I'm done with jail and everything?
Well, if they've taken your property and not given it back, what in evidence usually means they've taken your property because they think it's related to a crime, not because you've been put in jail. If it was just in jail, they give it back to you as soon as you're released. If they take it as part of the crime and want to investigate it, well, then you have to call the police department and ask them to release it. If they won't release it because they're investigating something, you probably would have to go to an attorney and have the attorney try to get a hold of them. Sometimes it's kind of difficult to get it back if they're investigating a crime, because they have technically 5 years to investigate that, so sometimes there's quite a delay. But you're entitled to it back if it's not related to a crime.
Okay, good to know. Thank you, Charlie. We'll have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
We'll be back with more Eyewitness News on KSCW.